In this assignment, we are going to use a spreadsheet to help us improve management decisions about selecting suppliers. So here we have this fictional company that we run, and we make aircraft components, and this is a list of all of the purchases that we've made in the last 3 months. So across the top we have the vendor name, a vendor number that we've given them, an order number for that specific order, item number for the parts that were purchased, description of the parts, the cost of the parts, the quantity, the number that we purchased, the cost per order, the accounts payable terms. So in this case, the higher the number, the better for us. We want to take as much time as possible to make the payment. The order date, the date that the components arrived, and that's what we have for each row here. So each row is a different purchase. What we're going to try to do is analyze this data and help us make some decisions here. So the first thing that we're going to do is try to figure out who is good at delivering things on time or delivering things quickly. Which one of these vendors are good at getting the parts to us as quickly as possible. So we have the order date and we have the arrival date, and from that we can pretty simply calculate the amount of time that it takes for them to deliver typically. So we're going to create a new column here. So L4, I'm just going to write delivery in days. And to calculate that, we can just subtract the two dates. So we can subtract a lot of numbers. Dates is one of them. So in the first cell here, I'm just going to type equals the arrival date minus the order date and press enter. So that gives me 8. We'll just do a quick check here. So that would be August 5th, 2018. 8 days later was August 13th, 2018. So that's 8 days. That delivery day makes sense. I'm just going to copy this all the way down. So once I have this cell selected, I'll click the little green box and just drag this all the way down to copy that formula for the entire column. So now we have the delivery days. This is a good start, but doesn't really tell us everything we need to know, because sometimes, for example, this company took 30 days to deliver that order, but only 14 to deliver this from the same order. So what we're going to do next is figure out a way to average this out. Before we do that though, it's always good to filter the data. So we're going to click and drag and highlight this first row here, and then this is going to allow us to filter the information. So I'll click on sort and filter, and then filter, and now I can only select certain items or sort from low cost to high cost. Whatever it is, I've added a filter on here to manipulate the data a little bit easier. The next thing I'm going to do is freeze the top few rows here. So rather than just freezing the top row, I'm going to freeze the first 4 rows, so that way when I scroll down I won't lose the titles. So in A5, I'll highlight that cell, and then under view, freeze panes, and then click freeze panes again, and now when I scroll down we have that top row finished off. The next thing I'm going to do is try to figure out the average delivery date per vendor. So we could create another column and try to average a bunch of different things out, but one thing that's really easy to do in Excel is a pivot table. So I'm just going to go back to the home ribbon, and then actually I'm going to go to the insert ribbon and click on pivot table. I'll just click on, or accept all the defaults here. So this is the full table. We're going to put it in a new worksheet, and then click OK. And now we're in this new sheet. So what a pivot table does is it allows you to select certain pieces of information and then build a new table out of that. So in the rows, so down here in the rows, we want the the vendor name, and then the value, we're going to try to average out the number of days it typically takes that vendor to deliver the items. So we'll click on vendor name, click and drag that into rows, and then I'll drop it there. And then we've created that delivery days column in the previous sheet. Now we can just click and drag delivery days into values. So now we have a column for the name of the vendor and a column for the delivery days. But something doesn't really look right here. For example, we have 127 days for Fast Tie Aerospace. If we go back to this first sheet and look at Fast Tie Aerospace, none of those were 127 days. By default, this is adding up all of those values. So you can see here it says sum of delivery days. We actually don't want the sum, we want the average. I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit here. We want the average of the delivery days. So under values here, by default it says sum. We can click on that and then click value field settings and then find average. So click average, then click OK, and now this changes to the average number of days for delivery. These are really, really long values. We don't need that many decimal points, so we can highlight those numbers and then just go down to 1 decimal point. The last thing we're going to do here is just change the name of the sheet to average delivery days. So now we have some useful information here. We can quickly see how long it takes each one of these companies to deliver a product on average. Space-time technologies, more than 15 days, whereas durable products, less than 5 days on average. So now we have a better idea of who the quick delivery companies are. The next thing we're going to look at is the accounts payable terms. So we're not going to look at an average here. We're going to, because each company has a consistent AP term. So Fast Tie is always 30, Durable is always 45, and we can go on here. So what we're going to do next is create another pivot table showing the maximum value of these terms. So we'll go back up to Insert and then Pivot Table, accept the defaults here and click OK, and now we have a new sheet. We're going to look at vendor name in the rows again. So it's listed all of the names of those vendors. Make this a little bit bigger, easier to see. And then we're going to look at AP terms and drag that into values. Again, by default, it sums these terms. So we don't actually have 585 days to pay durable products. We need the maximum value of the terms here. So again, in field settings, then we can just click on max. Last time we clicked average for our last calculation. This time we're going to click max and then click OK. So now we can see who has the kind of the most lenient terms here, the best terms for us when we're purchasing. You can double click this and rename the sheet to maximum AP terms. Finally, what we're going to do is look at the companies that offer the same products and see if they're all the same prices. So in this case, we want to buy the item at the lowest possible cost to reduce our expenses, and we can see if the same item by the item description is sold by different companies for different prices. So we're going to click on Insert, Pivot Table, click OK again, and this time we're going to click on Vendor Name in the rows. Then we haven't used the filters or columns yet, but we are going to use the columns now. So across the columns, we're going to drag down item description, and now you can see that it's created this matrix for us. So we have the vendor name across here, so down the column here, and then the description of the item across the top. Now what we want to compare is price. So if we find price here, item cost, and drag that down into values, again it's not sum because that would be adding everything up. So we're going to go to value field settings again, and we'll click on the minimum. So click on min and then OK. So now we can see, and I'll zoom in a little bit here. Now we can see that not every vendor offers every single product, but of the products that are offered by multiple vendors, there are differences in prices. So Durable Products sells this package for $3.50, where Aluminum Sheeting sells it for $3.95. So this is really useful information. Imagine if you were buying tens and thousands of units, a small price change, understanding that small price change can really help you out. So we'll rename this to prices, and then just to double check that we've done everything right, we'll go back and double check our bolt nut package. So if we go back to sheet 1, we're going to use the filter on the item description. So we'll click on item description, we're going to unselect everything, and we're only going to highlight the bolt nut package. So space-time, aluminum sheeting, steel pin, durable products, and that should match aluminum sheeting, durable products, space-time, and steel pin. So it matches those vendors, and then the prices or the costs should match as well. $3.55 for space-time, $3.55 for space-time, $3.95 for aluminum sheeting, right, and $3.75 for steel pin. Yep. And $3.50 for durable products. And there we go. So that matches up. So just to double check that everything is matching up properly. So you can leave this filtered as is. You should have 4 sheets now. Sheet 1 is just the filtered version of the original data. Again, we haven't deleted anything. It still exists in here. We've just filtered down the content. We've added the delivery days column by calculating the difference between the order date and the arrival date. You should also have the average delivery days pivot table sheet, which shows the average delivery days down to 1 decimal place. You should have the maximum AP terms sheet, which is another pivot table showing the maximum number of days, maximum accounts payable days. And then finally, a pivot table showing the prices. So the vendors in the first column, and then the description of the items across the top with all of the prices, the minimum value of the prices showing in this matrix.